What's going on, workforce? Brian here, and in today's video we're talking about Shadowbringers and the concept of trusts. Personally, I have once they announced this, I lost my mind in the in the audience. I'm very excited to see this announcement, and not for reasons why generally people, I guess, are worried or I guess afraid or concerned about the concept of trust, because they introduced the trust system in Final Fantasy XI when Final Fantasy XI was dying and they're kind of shutting it down. So how do you take this multiplayer game and fill it with people, or at least not make it so that everybody's so alone in playing the game together? And that's the introduce the concept of trust. It's kind of like Pokemon. It's kind of like your minion collection system, but you can take these characters and play with them, and they have various roles. So you might have a healer, a tank, things like that. And that's kind of how it works in 11. I've actually really enjoyed the system. Now, obviously the concerns are, well, I mean, if you can play with trust, why would you play with people? If you can, what does this mean? Does this mean that Final Fantasy XIV is dying? What does it mean for the overall game? Is this a good decision? Some people are legitimately worried about it. And for the rest of everybody, I just say that the trust system for me, and this isn't going to be the case for everybody, the trust system for me is a removal of downtime. And especially when it relates to Final Fantasy XI, it's saying, well, while we wait for a healer or a tank or another DPS, we can still go out and play the game. And as soon as they become available, whether they sign online or we recruit them or what have you, we're able to then pick them up and kick out the bot, because the bot's not going to have any feelings whatsoever. They're not, well, who knows? With the AI today, that could, Skynet could be real. But beyond that, beyond just that idea, what excites me about it in Final Fantasy XIV is that I've long thought, and probably over the last couple of years, that Final Fantasy XIV is really a single-player game that sits on top of an MMO. So things like raids and dungeons, those are obviously very MMO based, but the single-player story, a lot of the content is really designed and balanced for you to complete it alone. With the exception of some fates, even most of it can be soloed. And even if you bring out your chocobo, even I guess squadrons are now in dungeons, and that's the only real concern that I have for the overall concept of trusts. Is we've got our chocobos, we've got our squadrons, and now we're going to have our trusts, and it's like these three kind of AI systems. Are we going to see a streamline of this logic? Are we going to see an evolution of this? Can our squads also be made up of the trust system? Is this all going to be incorporated, or are these just going to be kind of systems that just live out there and either get updated or abandoned completely? That's the only concern. We won't know. The only thing that will help us kind of figure that out is the literal concept of time. But at its core, one of the complaints that I've leveraged against 14 recently is that the world has not felt dangerous. Like it really does. Now Eureka is a different example. The raids are obviously a different example. The game has challenging content, but the world itself hasn't really been that. And there are times where it is, but at some point the world is balanced around the concept of a single player. So whether you be a white mage, a warrior, whatever, you need to be able to get around the world. And it also creates an interesting problem in the concept of how you play the game. Everything is, as supposedly being an MMO and being a multiplayer, the single player experience of this game does not teach you how to get ready for parties. As a white mage, you're spending more time, casting offensive magic than you are worrying about managing healing and dots and things like that. And that's kind of the point that I'm getting to, is that the trust system has a potential here. I'm not saying that it's going to be, but it has the potential to rebalance the world. My hope is that it's part of the whole game. At least, if nothing else, as soon as whenever you can start getting trust, they bake it into the story. My fear is that it's only in the Shadowbringer areas, and that kind of would make sense until they calamity'd out the game or something like that. But beyond that, that concept, another topic, another video, is the simple fact that if you, as just a game designer, as a mathematician, knowing that I've got at least a light party, then I can say, well, if there was 4 people always together, one's a tank, one's a healer, 2 DPS, how do we balance? How much life does those enemies have? How difficult does that fate need to be? What kind of new mechanics can we now introduce? Because these once impossible fates that people aren't doing anymore, we've already talked about it. We'll probably keep talking about it until Square Enix fixes the XP problem. But they can balance the game around a party. And that's the real exciting thing about trusts. And what I mean by that is that, sure, You might just feel like, I'm going to play with my trusts, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it also means that you and your friends could go out and actually have some challenging open world content, be it in the NMs or the world fates, or something to where the world feels like you want to go with a buddy, whether that buddy is a bot or that buddy is your friend. That is why I'm excited. This has a huge potential for that. Now, obviously, we'll have to wait and see how it's implemented. They're calling it trust. It does have that feel. The question, though, is that why? Why call it trusts to begin with? Obviously, the fact that they own 11 and 14. I thought Eureka was an invitation for 11 people to come into 14 because it feels very 11-ish. It has that danger. And ever since I've played it, I say, why isn't the open world just like this? Why isn't the world dangerous and exciting? It's a beautiful world. It just is it's just there. It's like this interesting set piece. And then now I see this, and it just makes me hope that this is a continual invitation for it, because what Eureka ended up doing is it invited me back to 11 because I realized just how awesome that world was, that experience was, that sense of freedom. And that ties into the limit job system. It ties into so much. Everything they kind of have been hinting at really shows them opening up the world into this mysterious place. And that's the mystery that I'm really looking forward to engaging with. But I just want that, like, hopefully I can rest, like, I guess some concerns if anybody out there in the community is worried about trust specifically. I wouldn't worry about it. I would look at it as a removal of downtime. I would look at it as an increasing, hopefully, of the increasing challenge of the world itself. So you don't need to use them if you don't want to. You can go and have even a higher level of difficulty in the open world. Or maybe what this does is this helps us all come together and play together. You know, this great MMO that we all enjoy. Anyway, I'm also interested to see how many it is, because like I said, Pokemon little catch 'em all. Within 11, if you guys aren't aware, there are certain conditions and quests and even timing things that you do to get various trusts. And so there is this really cool kind of collection game mechanic that corresponds with it. And we almost kind of had that with Squadrons. And so I'm wondering if we're going to see Squadrons go away, or who knows what we're going to do there. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm really looking forward to learning more. If you guys aren't aware, February is going to be the next FanFest out in Paris. So we're going to see more information and learn more about it. We'll keep talking about it. Let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything in the comments below. Let's have that conversation. But for Work to Game, my name is Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic day. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Oh, excuse me. What's up, Workforce? Chuck here, telling you should totally like, favorite, subscribe, share, dance, raise your hands in the air. I'm off camera. I'm off frame. I'm new at this. Hey, listen. Yes. You haven't hit that subscribe button. You totally should. I recommend it. Chuck approved. Anyway, also, thanks to all the Patreons. You're in the corners. Whoa!